Good day, everyone. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a mushroom journey I had that I think is really relevant and important to where we are. We just entered into eclipse season, and my astrologer friend calls it the course corrector. This is a time where it's when people talk about like Jesus take the wheel, it's like yes, we all have our free will and we're co-creating, but these are times where it's like wherever we're not making those choices consciously, those things can really come in. So if we're not doing something that we're avoiding making a decision or avoiding making a change, or those things, something could happen that will just eliminate that choice from us or force our hand. These are times where we're really making corrections, we're refining, and so I think it's important to talk about this. And I'm not surprised that the mushroom journey that I had a few days ago aligns with all of this and explains this in a way that I think is important to talk about. I'm just looking down at some notes because I want to make sure that I cover all the different points. And this video will likely be a little longer than what I'm used to making because I want to kind of speak in depth, and maybe you tackle it all at once, or maybe you come back. But I really want to talk about these things in a little bit more detail. So one, why do I use mushrooms? What is this about? There's so much stigma around mushrooms. There's fear, there's a lot of judgment, and most people that I know that have a real strong, at least negative judgment around it, are honestly people that don't know a lot about it, don't know a lot about the science, have only been spoon-fed certain pieces of information. I would encourage anyone that is interested, because it's not for everyone, right? There's not one thing for everyone. There's many ways to learn, many ways to grow, many ways to heal, and we all pick and choose. So for those that are have some interest or intrigue, I would encourage you to do some digging around the research, through John Hopkins, through someone called Roland Griffiths, another guy big in the mushroom industry is Paul Stamets. So these are people that I would call mushroom advocates. And so there's so much science around this, and there's a lot of promising, work that's coming out of this. Now, keep in mind, mushrooms are older than plants. And so the history around mushroom, they go back thousands of years. So we've been using this technology for a very long time, but modern science is just starting to come around to look at these things and to research them. And that's that. So mushrooms help with neurogenesis. So it helps us to repattern the brain, upgrade the brain. We all have certain, thoughts and behaviors that are like roads that have been walked through over and over and over again. And when we try to change that, that is so ingrained in us, it's sometimes difficult. And that's why some people, as we get older, we think that we are just where we are, that there's, this is just me, but mushrooms help us to create new pathways in the brain. It helps us to change our patterns. And then spiritually, it helps us to understand the bigger scheme of things. Why have we experienced some of the things we have experienced? It helps us to understand the deeper meanings of our lives and some of the lessons that we're here to learn. And they're teachers. Some people call it medicine too, because it can help us to heal the body and of course the mind and the emotional and spiritual nature. But this technology, when used properly and when integrated properly, it's profound. I think it's underused, even though I know that there's not one path for everyone. I think this technology is underused. And it's an honor and privilege to be able to work with mushrooms and to also work with other people, because part of what I do with people is I work with people in altered states of consciousness. So altered states of consciousness can be through mushrooms, can be through breath work, can be through hypnosis, and really an altered state is really, you're not focused on like dinner, and you're not focused on what you have to do next, and you're not focused on going to work tomorrow. You are internally focused, and you're able to kind of look at things from like a bird's eye view, which sometimes can give you perspective. So altered states is really, you could be sitting in your room and breathing, and go into an altered state where your brain waves slow down, and you may be able to perceive something differently, or you may be able to uncover a solution when you slow down and when you kind of tap in. And so it's valuable to be in an altered state, because they say you cannot solve a problem with the same state of consciousness. So sometimes going into an altered state through, again, the methods that I've already described, you can connect and allow your inner wisdom to come forward. Because a lot of us, we already have the answers, but it's like we have to clean the body and the mind so that we can access this information. So I had a mushroom journey a few days ago, and one of the big themes it talked about, or to help me understand, was how to create. I like to use the word creatrix. So they were teaching me how to create. And these are some of the themes or some of the lessons that came through. Everything is working together. Everything is being woven and orchestrated together. So let's think about that. All of humanity, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the mushroom kingdom, crystals, all of the elements, fire, water, the earth itself, the planets, the sun, the moon, everything in existence is working together. And that, a lot of us will say, yeah, everything's connected. But if we think about the intelligence required to orchestrate all of humanity and all in existence, where everything matters to the next thing, and have it work together, that is really powerful. And what was so important for me in really seeing that, and really just in awe of that power or that intelligence, is that we have to understand that everything that we're experiencing matters. So sometimes we experience joy and bliss and connection. And then sometimes we experience chaos and overwhelm and pain. And it's important for us to do our best to just bring it all together. Like, one of the things that came through was weaving it all together, weaving it with love. And some of these concepts, when we're in the thick of it, it's not easy to integrate and to take in. But that is one of the things that we're tasked with in this life, is how can we take all that we've experienced and weave it together and create something new, or continue to build on what we're creating. Most of us can logically say that we know that we can only experience happiness or joy, that's just one aspect of our experience, but we resist these other things that happen. And I forgot who it was, but they were talking about that when something happens to us, we either become a victim, and it's like we break down from it, or we become wiser and stronger. And so we have a choice. And that doesn't mean that right away, if something challenging happens to us, that we're, going to just take that and just, learn from it and grow from it. And some of these things take time, long periods of time. But it's the intention of continuing to see what these experiences bring to us. What do we need to know about them? How can we be stronger? How can we soften? One of the things that I learned personally in my journey is that sometimes I need to chill. Like, everyone's going to learn and experience, and they have their own path. So it's softening. It's having compassion. It's remembering that just because we were taught something is good or the right way doesn't mean it's good for someone else. It doesn't mean that we have a right to assess someone else's experience and stamp it with good or bad. It really is about having compassion and knowing that everyone has their own journey. And again, these are the things we say it all the time, but to really, really, really in our heart know that is different, because if we knew that, we would be gentler with each other. That's the next thing that came through, is how can we create a soft landing pad for the next person? We are all going through things that are very challenging at different moments, right? So, some of us, when we were younger, we went through a whole lot of shit. And then in our older years, things seem to be more aligned and it's like going our way, so to speak. And then sometimes it's the reverse, so everyone has patches in their life where something shakes things up, something challenges us, something requires a different version of us. And so how can we be gentle with each other? How can we be loving with each other? Knowing the difficulty that we have felt or the pain that we have felt, how can we be gentle and kind with the next person? Because even though they may have a different set of circumstances, we understand pain. We understand challenge. So how can we show that the compassion that we want or the support that we want to other people? And so, I think a lot of us, it's easy to see where other people are maybe going wrong or may have wronged us or, whatever. And that's all true. But I think now would be a really good time for us to remember that we all have tender moments. And, how can we make someone else's experience a little bit more, just filled with more ease or more support? One of the things that I experienced in my journey is feeling there were moments that, let me go back. One of the things that I was taught is that everything's going back to normal. And I don't really know what normal is, but for me, the way that I interpret it is that coming back into balance, coming back into harmony. And when, right now, collectively, there's a lot of, chaos and difficulty and a lot of information coming to the surface. We're realizing that, the way that we're living isn't sustainable. The government that is in place is not necessarily for the people, that corporations are greedy and, there's a lot that is not in support of humanity growing. And so we have to look at where do we need to change, what structures need to change, what behaviors need to change. And so as things are coming back into harmony, it's going to feel at times chaotic, overwhelming, confusing. And there were times in my journey that felt so overwhelming, that felt so difficult. It was like everything was trying to happen at once. And all I kept saying was, thank you. Thank you, thank you. And I don't know why I was saying it, but afterwards I learned that it's like a way to create a tether. It's like if you're in the eye of the storm, right, and everything's swirling around you and it's just chaos and violence or difficulty, it's like, how can you find a way to find a little space of peace? Or, when we talk about tether, it's like something that can hold us, right? Something that can hold us so that we're not going with that chaos, that we're finding a space of sturdiness. And so even when things are going in a difficult way, see if you can trust and know that everything is working for you. And that, yes, there are going to be times where you're going to have to really look at yourself and look at what your choices have been, what your behaviors are. And that's okay to be accountable, but knowing that everything is working out, and we have to have some experiences that are not easily understood for our evolution. And so we have to trust the way that things are going. And a lot of what we're experiencing in terms of difficulty are a result of our own choices and behaviors and of generationally what we have created. Many of us have come away from what has where we were in harmony before. You know, we used to work in communities more efficiently. We used to work with the land. We were self-sustaining. We understood the importance of preserving the land, and we understood the importance of caring for each other. And now, you know, and in many ways, we're not doing that, and we're seeing the result of that. We're not connected with each other. We're not connected with our own spirit, our own heart. And so things are coming back into harmony, but there are going to be moments of chaos and confusion and overwhelm. And we have to find a way to be in a space of peace and knowing and trusting when those moments come. So as we're creating this new way, or coming back to normal, or coming back to harmony, all of us have to do the internal cleaning. You know, we have to look at why we believe some of the things we believe. You know, are we living in integrity? Are we being honest with ourselves and other people? You know, so it's coming back to ourselves and coming back to a place of integrity and accountability. So maybe, you know, maybe we can all take some time to think about what we want to create, and think about where we don't believe that can happen. You know, someone once taught me, they said, you know, the how is not your problem. You know, like, you don't have to think about the how all right away. It's really thinking about what it is you want or don't want. And then those things come as they need to. You're not going to always know the exact path. You're not going to know from A to Z. And so sometimes we get caught up that way because we don't see how it can happen. And that's how sometimes we can self-sabotage. So, you know, maybe now is a good time to think about what it is you want, what it is you don't want, and really softly and lovingly be aware of where your thoughts are. You know, where are you in blame of other people? You know, where are you in judgment of other people, and what does that really mean about you and how you feel and how you think? And so this is a time that I think we have to really be responsible about, you know, how we're treating other people and how we're treating ourselves. And so this is a beautiful time to create. You know, we're in spring. This is where we plant the seeds. You know, this is where things are, you know, being born and rising again. And so using that energy, and remember that everything matters. Everything matters, and that it's really beautiful to know that you're not missing out on anything. I don't care where you are, who you're with, who you're not with. And I'm speaking to myself. We're not missing out on anything. And so so maybe, you know, maybe we can all take some time to think about what we want to create and think about where we don't believe that can happen. Someone once taught me, they said, you know, the how is not your problem. Like, you don't have to think about the how all right away. It's really thinking about what it is you want or don't want. And then those things come as they need to. You're not going to always know the exact path. You're not going to know from A to Z. And so sometimes we get caught up that way because we don't see how it can happen. And that's how sometimes we can self-sabotage. So, maybe now is a good time to think about what it is you want, what it is you don't want, and really softly and lovingly be aware of where your thoughts are. Where are you in blame of other people? Where are you in judgment of other people? And what does that really mean about you and how you feel and how you think? And so this is a time that I think we have to really be responsible about, how we're treating other people and how we're treating ourselves. And so this is a beautiful time to create. We're in spring. This is where we plant the seeds. This is where things are, being born and rising again. And so using that energy, and remember that everything matters. Everything matters, and that it's really beautiful to know that you're not missing out on anything. I don't care where you are, who you're with, who you're not with. And I'm speaking to myself. We're not missing out on anything. We have to align with the things that are good for us and align with our creations.